Welcome back to Magic Hour Podcast, my loves. Taylor Page here.
And I'm Claire. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Well, it's about that time. It's Eclipse season 2.0 for 2025. And right before we started recording, Claire was talking about how clunky the energy is already feeling. And at the time of recording, we're like a month out from eclipse season. And it's Mercury retrograde and all the things at time of recording. What were you saying happened, Claire? You like shattered a light bulb?
Yeah, I just feel like I've been super clumsy and everything's been really clunky. And I have these lights that I use to film when I do my content. And I was trying to film something in my bathroom, and my bathroom's really small. And so it was just crazy with the tripod and the light. And then I knocked the light over, and the light bulb shattered into I've never seen anything shatter into so many pieces. Like, it felt impossible how many pieces came out of it. And so, and it's like you're trying to work up yourself to do this thing. And then it just has felt like that at every turn. Like, I've been knocking things over. I went to put my drink in my cup holder in my car and just missed the cup holder completely and just dropped it on the ground. So, yes, I've been feeling a little bit like I'm moving through like sticky mud, or just, I don't know. It's just been clunky.
Yeah. And at the time of recording, which if you guys listening think back to a month prior to where we are now, this is the Mars Saturn opposition that we've been navigating, where it's like Mars, the planet of the physical body in action and forward momentum, is getting pulled on by Saturn, which is like pumping the brakes and that clunky energy. And a lot of people have been feeling throughout August, this sense of feeling a little off in their physical body, feeling clunky. I have a rainbow of bruises on my legs from bumping into things. So I know I'm feeling it too, and a lot of people are feeling it. And something to keep in mind that we've been navigating that has been through July and August, and we'll still feel it at September 3rd when this episode comes out in this eclipse season. We're navigating Saturn Neptune conjunct. And by the time this comes out, it'll be a little lessened because Saturn will have retrograded back into Pisces and Neptune will still be in Aries, but we're still feeling it. It's like giving us this sense because Saturn is like structure and boundaries and time and lessons and karma and pumping of the brakes. And Neptune is like spiritual realm, fogginess, dissolving things. And so when they meet up, it's like, where is the boundary? What direction am I going in? It just creates this sense of a little bit of fogginess, frustration. It's been a big mental health warning through this conjunction because it can leave us feeling a little bit isolated or misunderstood or existential. And overall, like a lot of people have been reporting this feeling of, I don't know how to move forward right now. And I'm trying to push for what I want. It's not really working. And I'm frustrated with the timing of things. And I think it also really speaks to the North Node being in Pisces right now, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And this Neptune Saturn conjunction is already teaching us a lot of lessons about fantasy, escapism, self sabotage, codependence, martyrdom, all of those things. But North Node in Pisces is basically telling us our spiritual toolbox to move forward right now is not Virgo. Virgo is in the South Node right now. The South Node's in Virgo, which is like controlling and planning and organizing and pushing and strategizing and thinking. Our toolbox to move forward right now is dreaming, feeling, intuiting. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So it's like mastery, endings, completion, forgiveness, compassion, higher spiritual love. So I think overall, with the Saturn Neptune conjunction and the North Node in Pisces right now, a lot of people are feeling frustrated and stuck and lost and a little disillusioned and confused and foggy. But that's actually kind of by design because it's like bringing up other uncomfortable things that if everything was flowing more easily and quickly would be avoided. So it's all part of the soul growth and the plan, but being in like a capitalistic society where we need to survive and make money and eat, it's like we're not all just hanging out in a garden eating fruit trees and like drinking natural spring water. Like it's not a perfect world, but I think the formula right now is really asking us to go deeper inward instead of trying to control things outside.
Yeah, I feel that. I am definitely feeling that energy of frustration and clunkiness, and also wanting things to have arrived that have not arrived yet and being frustrated with the timing. That's a hard feeling, and it's hard to enjoy the present moment when you are so focused on what is missing or what you want to call in and what isn't here. And I talked a lot about that with my therapist this session. Shout out to Rachel. She's amazing. She really highlighted to me exactly what you said, in essence, of like, let's say that this is the road to your goals. And we think, well, I want to be at my goal. And I've been on this road. So, like, when am I going to be at the part where I get the thing? But I think we kind of forget that the way that you get good at something is the practice of doing it. And then eventually you arrive at the place where you're skilled at this thing. And I think that's true for our life's journey and the things that we're trying to accomplish or create or bring in. I think knowing that this moment is full of what will get you there versus just thinking, oh, this moment is a moment I don't want, or it isn't where I want to be. But it's like, but this moment is rich with how you get there, with the self-growth, with the shadow work, with the active work towards your goals, with the, shifting of your mindset. All of those things are here in this moment for you to do so that you can get there. So I'm really just trying to look at this moment for its opportunities. What can I do here in this moment, or what is being presented to me in this moment that I can work on, work through, see as an opportunity, and trust that all of that is in service of where I'm trying to go.
But the path isn't always obvious. And that's why I think the North Node in Pisces is so powerful, because it takes us into the realm of spirit, and the realm of spirit sees a bigger soul path. Like, I got this message in a reading one time that really was powerful, which was, if you knew everything that you are currently doing in every lifetime you're living, because we can only perceive this lifetime that we're living because we're in the density of a body. But if you knew like every lesson, relationship, job, healing path that you were doing in all of your lifetimes, you would be a lot easier on yourself in this one. You would have a lot more grace and compassion with yourself in this one. So there's such a like bigger picture that spirit sees that we can't while we're in a physical body. And I think no experience is wasted, and everything is, just like you were saying and just like Rachel was saying, leading us in the direction and order that we had to go so that we could be our most embodied, powerful, love-filled self. And sometimes like it takes a deep love of something and a yearning for something that motivates us to learn those lessons and walk the path. And that's also by divine design.
Yeah, sometimes the struggle is the thing that helps fuel us to take the action. I've really been feeling like that in many ways. If things were easier, if I was in a better financial place, I maybe wouldn't be taking the action that I am, because I would feel like, well, yeah, things are pretty good, and hopefully, more things will work out. I think, you know, that sometimes the struggle is the fuel. And that's a great way to look at a moment of struggle, of like, okay, how is this the fuel? And how can I look at it as the fuel? How can I let it fuel me on my journey of self-love, of self-joy, of the journey to the life that I will feel lit up in? How can I use this?
Yeah. And what movie or TV show or book have we ever read where the main character doesn't go through a struggle and learn from it and then end up somewhere? It's like, that's just humanity. We all have struggles. We all have lessons. We all have obstacles. It's like what we're doing here. So I think that also, not thinking that you're alone in that, or it means that you're not on the right path, that would just not be an interesting movie to go watch. If everything was handed to someone, it would be like, okay, roll the credits. Like, it's done. We're here in a physical body to learn these lessons. And sometimes it comes through struggle, sometimes it comes through love, but that's okay. It's all part of the plan.
And that's such a perfect example, too, of, when we watch a story like that, we see how the main character or the characters start in a certain way and develop and change into a better, hopefully better version of self because of the struggle that the journey took them on. And without that, they would have just stayed the version that the movie started with, which we could all see was not their best self. So trust in that for yourself, too. Like, these things are helping you, even if they're hard and frustrating.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to get into this conversation with Maddie today because speaking of transformation, we're in eclipse season, which is a time for the plot. It is the time to further the plot for change and transformation and soul level lessons and endings and beginnings. Going back to that literary metaphor, I'm sure a lot more of the plot is going to reveal itself in this upcoming few weeks. Madi Murphy is the co-founder of Cosmic RX, a moon-powered community helping millions of people learn the art of birth chart interpretation and delivering digestible doses of cosmic know-how directly to your phone and email inbox. As head witch in charge, she is committed to democratizing everyday magic and making foundational cosmic tools available to everyone. She also hosts the community's podcast, Cosmic RX Radio. Maddie works as a leadership coach, was named one of the top 100 wellness luminaries by Well and Good, and was chosen as one of Kripalu's first ever new visionaries. She's been quoted regularly in Refinery 29, and her work has been featured in Vogue, The New York Times, Oprah Magazine, and Marie Claire. Welcome, welcome, Maddie. Maddie, welcome to Magic Hour. I am so excited to have you here today.
Oh, this is such a treat to be here. I mean, I love magic and a magic hour. It's like the best happy hour of all time. So,
Yes, and that's what we were thinking when we named the podcast Magic Hour. It's like instead of happy hour, we need more magic hours.
amen. I co-sign on that so hard.
Yes. And so we always start by asking our guest, what is your sun, moon, and rising?
So, I'm a Virgo sun, Pisces moon, and Cancer rising.
Okay, are you not the person to talk about this upcoming eclipse season? Like, wow.
I know. When I heard you want to talk about eclipses, I'm like, no, this is good because I have a lot to say. I've been doing my homework. This is sort of the axis I live on, right? The Pisces Virgo axis. And also, as a Cancer rising, I always say I work for the moon, not for the man. The moon tells me everything I need to know. And I'm like, got it. Love you, mama. So I'm very excited to talk about, what we can expect, do's and don'ts, and some cosmic prescriptions for that eclipse season.
I love that. So you're being activated in all the ways right now with Jupiter in your first house, and you have this book that's just come out. What an exciting, activated karmic moment for your soul.
It really is. It's so, one of the taglines on my podcast, we always say, it's like, if astrology isn't real, like, if astrology isn't real, then why? I'm like, of course, this book is coming out. Yeah, with Jupiter in my first house, going through these eclipses. I'm in a progressed Leo moon. So I've had to be more like out and like kind of like razzle dazzle and like promoting the book than I've gone through my own comfort zone to cosmic zone journey in just the promotion of the book. And it's all so meta and so beautiful and so aligned. But I just love how astrology has a guide for us, but also letting us know the universe sometimes is just kind of giggling.
Yes, I always talk about, because I'm a medium as well, and I always talk about the intelligence of the spirit world and how perfect the synchronicities are and how we can't even conceive of how intelligent and perfect it is. And it's the same exact thing with astrology. It truly is poetry on a certain level.
It really is. It really is. And I love that you said that. And I feel the same way as someone who is always very intuitive, but I don't know if I always was able to like trust my intuitive hits until I really started to use astrology as like the receipts behind it. Like, oh, I'm feeling that, but now I'm seeing, okay, checking out. So I always say that astrology to me is one of the ways that like the universe speaks to us, right? Through the archetypal energy, through our galactic guides of the planets, and just a way that the universe is like, here, like sending us little love notes and poetry, and sometimes like trolling us a little bit just to make sure we're not taking ourselves too seriously.
Absolutely. And so you're also born on the Pisces full moon. So I'm wondering what your experience is as a full moon baby, because I know people would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I love it. So if anyone here is listening and they're a full moon baby, which a great easy way to remember is if you're just opposite sun and moon, opposite signs, your whole life, like myself, you're learning about the balance and the investigation of quote unquote opposite energy and really figuring out how to integrate that. And like for me, I'm like, okay, I'm a Virgo growing up before I understood the complexity of my chart. I'd be like, okay, I'm a Virgo. Yes, in some ways I am organized. I feel better when I'm organized. I am a hard worker. I love details. But in other ways, I was like, I'm this dreamy, like, who cares about details? It's all made up. And let's just go make potions in the woods and like gaze at stars. Who cares? Like, let's go into the big picture. And so for so much of my life, I was like, I don't get it. And even more in the, muggle, mundane sense of life, I'd always struggle with, do I want to go into business and go get my MBA. And I grew up in New York, go to Manhattan and work for like a magazine, or my Pisces moon, like, or run away, live in the jungle, watercolor with a bunch of animals that I've taken in as like a rescue center and never talk to a human again. Right. So, like, I think for a lot of people born under the full moon, you're here to learn about integration. And we know like full moons are the manifestation, the culmination of energy. So it's up to us to how do we like work with all of that. It's a lot, it's a charge, right? And I do find that full moon babies are usually here to experience like embodiment in a different way, right? How do we embody this energy and not let it work us over, but instead like work through us so we can do something beautiful with it?
I love that. And I also just think it's such a perfect manifestation of being a Virgo sun, Pisces moon, that you're writing about and bringing down to earth and grounding these big spiritual, esoteric, energetic currents. It couldn't be more perfect.
Oh my goodness, so well said. Thank you. Oh, thank you for seeing me so beautifully in that. It feels so cool, right? It's like, oh, and that's the good, expression of the full moon baby. It takes a little minute, right? I'm not the person who would have gone to the career counselor in 10th grade or in college and been like, yeah, this is this one path, this cookie cutter template of a path, like never really spoke to me because I wanted to do a million things. I'm also, a mutable full moon baby. So I'm like, I want to have many lives in this life. But what you just described was exactly how my own spiritual journey like led me to understanding exactly that. And I have a Pisces midheaven too. So one of my dear friends, Colin Bedell of Queer Cosmos, like he just told me, and really when I was worried about making the transition to going full time in the spiritual world, I was like, I don't know, it still feels a little abstract. This was like 2016. I was like, it's hard to describe. It's people, I don't know what it is. And he just said, he's like, you're a metaphysician and you're here to bring the watermelon of the universe through the keyhole down to people and to make it digestible and accessible. And I remember there's another moment I just fell in love with astrology because I was like, yep, that's exactly what I want to do. And it's there in my chart, it's in my heart. Boom, validated. Let's go.
Yes. And I always say our birth chart is dynamic, it's not static. And every time we look at it, we're going to see something new. Just like as we grow and change and we look in the mirror, we see something new. Also, when we look in the mirror, we're usually looking for something. And it's like such a perfect metaphor for our birth chart, too. And so you probably always saw that sun in Virgo in the fourth house of I'm going to be more behind the scenes and connected to the home and self care and feeling good. And then now after your Saturn return and everything you've gone through, you're like, of course, this is what that opposition on the fourth, 10th house polarity is meaning for me.
Exactly. Like, oh, that's right there. I love that analogy of the mirror. I always say, I'm like, oh, my chart or, my clients, my mentees' charts, it always feels like, again, it's like a very intuitive process of just like, what's speaking to me right now, what's coming out. And I feel like if anyone's seen Harry Potter, when they have like the floating cabinet of curiosities and like certain potions and elixirs like float. I always say when I see someone's chart, I always just trust like what's floating out in the moment. Like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, I could look at something, my own chart. I have looked at it 1,000 times. And it's interesting how it just moves and evolves with you. We're like, oh yeah, I never totally noticed that Neptune, sextiling my sun. And you're like, oh, that's clicking. And I feel like that is the invitation for the moment to go deeper into that part of yourself that you're ready to align yourself with. So I love that mirror analogy. I might steal that. I'll give you credit though, but I think that's a beautifully said.
Yes. And I feel really called to say too that usually our soul's calling and what we're here to do scares us and gives us imposter syndrome. And earlier versions of self could never even picture showing up in the world in such an empowered, joyful, magical way. And the other thing I like to say about our birth chart is that it's also a permission slip when you finally understand it. It's like that part of us that feels like I could never possibly do this. And I'm comparing myself to other people. And this is beyond my wildest dreams. And then you look back at the chart and you're like, it's been here all along.
The whole time. Oh my gosh, Taylor, we are so in line. You are speaking so my language. I always say that. I'm like, I actually have all my clients, I build them out this Notion portal and I call it their Wikipedia page, and it's like where everything lives. And there's a whole section called your planetary permission slip. And it's like the things that you learn along the way. And I always say the best readings, the best compliment I can get after I sit and read with someone is just, oh, okay, that just affirmed something I already knew, or just gave me permission, validation. And I like to say, I say it in my book, I just want people's birth chart to be that empowerment, that permission slip, that pep talk, so you can stop like doubting your gifts and just start doing them and start bringing them out in the world, because the world needs them. But also when you bring them out in the world, it brings out something in you, right? Like that unfolding, that becoming, that blossoming. So that's exactly it. And I do think that, yeah, if someone had told me 20 years ago, okay, this is what you're going to do and this, that, I would have been like, what? And short circuiting. So I do love like the evolution. And it's such a good reminder in the present day moment when we're like, we don't know how it's all going to unfold. And that's actually good. I always say I would be so bored if you knew how the next 5 years were going to play out exactly. Like I know in some ways we think we want to know, but I'm like, I would get bored. I'd hear it and I'd be like, I'm over it, boring, yawn, and living it is the great adventure, right?
Yes, and it truly teaches us that everything unfolds in its perfect cycles and timing as well, which I love. The second question that we love to ask our guests, and this is going to be interesting as a Pisces full moon baby, is how does your intuition speak to you?
Yes, as a Pisces moon, it's everywhere. And I was peeking at your chart, so I'm so curious. We'll get into it later. I was LOLing. I was like, "Ooh, this this babe has some."
Isn't it just obvious at a certain level?
Well, I almost knew your chart before I looked at it. I was like, knew about you, what you did, and then I was like, waiting for the software to pull it up, and I was like, I can't wait to see how much she has going on in the eighth house. And then, sure enough, crowded house of love. But I think my whole life I've just had that like claircognizance and that clairsentience, like just that like knowing, seeing something either ahead, whether it's like that visionary energy. Like even what I'm doing now, I just said it would have scared me like 20 years ago, but I think there was a part of me that always knew this is what I was going to be doing, or certain moments of like me in my house or me with my babies, certain things I like just felt, but it took my brain so long to figure out how to do it. Took me so much to figure out how to be slow with it, how to embody it, how to trust the process, to really also become the person who can like hold the vision that I had for my life. But also even in the more micro sense, just like that intuitive knowing, whether it's the vibes off of someone and how they're doing emotionally, or just my college boyfriend would joke that like I was so good at Jeopardy, but like I didn't know what I was doing. I was like blah blah blah, shout things out. He'd be like, "How do you know that?" And I'm like, "I literally have no idea." And I'm not like some Mensa genius. It was just I always felt very Pisces moon, the intuition very watery, very big, very everywhere. But almost sometimes that water would like drown me or overwhelm me, or it felt like spilled water on a floor, just kind of a mess, right? And hard to trust it, hard to make sense of it, hard to harness it. And that's why I'm so grateful for my Virgo practices, whether it was finding great teachers, learning how to be in my body more and be more grounded, learn language around intuition. I've gone to shaman school, working with, intuitive tools like tarot cards, oracle decks, pendulums, astrology. These are things that help me now actually enjoy my intuitive gifts. Whereas before, it just felt like I can't focus. Like I'd be trying to talk to someone and I would just be like, information coming from every angle. And on top of that, already having a little bit of like neurospiciness with ADHD. So for me, it just feels like everywhere, everything. I feel it, I see it. And now I can just know, okay, that feeling in my body means to say this thing. Like I will talk to someone and I'll see the Empress floating over their head. And I'm like, are you pregnant? Having like tools and learning a glossary for me and my guides has really helped me like trust it more. So it's clairsentience, claircognizance, and then a lot of structure and rituals and practices that have helped me actually digest it.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because clairsentience and claircognizance are my two main clairs as well. And it is a journey in understanding the language that those clairs are even speaking, because I think I really understand what you mean by like a big messy puddle on the floor that you don't even know how to approach as like a Scorpio sun and moon in the eighth house. I really get that, even though I'm a Sag moon. And I think that it's really interesting because I think the first like 30 years of our life is almost nervous system regulation to even hold big feelings and emotions. And we're so told that emotions aren't good. Come back to baseline, be okay, don't feel your feelings. But those emotions are messengers with so much intuitive information for us. So I think it takes a long time to even get to a place where you can hold the psychic information coming through without doubting it, second guessing it, or crumbling under the emotions of what you're experiencing.
That's so well said. When I also learned about trusting my emotions, regulations, and also energy hygiene, that helped me so much because talk about being overcome. I would sit with someone and all the information I was getting off them and their emotions, it would be like a tsunami over me. And I couldn't even, and I would leave and I would feel tired or depleted or depressed or sad. And I would internalize all of that, not realizing that that was energy you're picking up on. And I thought also that taking it on was like helping people too. I'd be like, oh, okay, let me take all of this from you, right? And so I think that's good, leading up to the Saturn return regulation. I like that because I work with some people that are a little bit younger now, and I think that is exactly, I would say, spot on because so much changes no matter who you are when you go through the Saturn return. Your life is going to throw you some amazing cosmic curveballs, and you're going to go through some pivot points and some beautiful initiations. But I think that like that is definitely the name of the game, emotional regulation leading up to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And even emotional regulation to feel safe in the unknown. Because if we can't feel safe in the unknown, we're always like grasping and forcing and attaching and trying to manufacture the expansion and the answers. And that's not how true intuition flows in. So I think it makes a lot of sense to me, your relationship and to your intuition and how it's evolved with you. And I think that I just want the listeners to hear that and know that that's so normal. And it was my experience too.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, it always is nice to talk to someone who's gone through that same experience. Because even though I do this work day in day out, that's why I love telling stories and I love podcasts. And I'm like, right? It's just like, okay, we're not the only one who's gone through that.
Yeah, we're just in a society that doesn't talk about it or celebrate it, but it doesn't mean it's not a rite of passage that pretty much everyone goes through in some way.
So well said.
So let's get into eclipse season because when this comes out, it's going to be September 3rd and just 4 days away from the Pisces full moon total lunar eclipse. So before we dive into that, I'm wondering if you could just share your expertise and take on eclipse season energy, do's and don'ts of eclipse season, just anything you want to share about it.
Oh, I love this invitation. And truly, I love eclipse seasons. It's like anything, like going on a big trip or going on a roller coaster or going to do anything that you know is going to take you to some kind of edge. I think once I understood how to work with them, I became excited for them every year. And so I will say that eclipses are moments of like great potential for karmic quantum cosmic leaps. Time gets very interesting in eclipses. Time slows down, it speeds up. They are a portal, right? They happen in pairs. And in this pair, so from September 7th to the 21st, in this upcoming case, I want everyone to visualize it's almost like if you were in a big pool about a month out. So, someone listening to this third might be feeling it. It's like someone unplugs a big pool and you start to feel at the top, like the little ripples, right? Like when you're draining a bath or pool. Ooh, there's something happening on the surface. You start to feel like something's coming. And then in the 2 weeks before the eclipse, we start to feel like, ooh, we're getting to the bottom. Things are swirling. And then it's almost like in that eclipse portal, we go through the drain pipe. We're down, we're in the in between, we're in a different realm, right? We're in the bardo or something like, everything is very weird and suspended. And then you come out on the other side and it's almost like you're in a different reality. So I like to tell people that the first thing we want to do to lead into eclipse season is get grounded, get regulated, because eclipses are very disruptive to our nervous systems. I say eclipses work with like chaos magic. It's like things abruptly begin, and twist, turn. In ancient times, they were looked at as a bit more malefic and okay, don't leave the house during them, and it was a little scary. And I'm like, I think now we know enough. To me, all of astrology is like respecting the universe, like respecting the patterns and the cycles of the universe. And so one thing that people might have heard about during eclipses is people say don't actively manifest. And I will say my astrology teacher, Samuel Reynolds, is not a super spiritual. He's actually not a very woo-woo astrology teacher. He's actually very analytical. He actually came from, he was a Baptist minister, a super erudite scholar who started studying astrology to disprove it. Obviously, spoiler alert, by the end, he's like, wow, there's something to this. But he always took a very more analytical, a scholarly approach. But he would say the one thing, he's like, I actually don't even know if I totally believe in manifestation. We're a little different in that way. I do, of course. But he's like, I would tell people to not actively manifest with eclipses. And he said, it's just an erratic time, right? And he has his own way of explaining it. How I like to tell people is it's not out of fear. It's not out of like dogma, like do's, don't, not if you're going to be punished if you do. I just think it's this beautiful moment that happens mostly twice a year, unless there's something irregular going on, where we get to say, hey, we've been doing our manifestation. Maybe we're working with our new moon practice, our full moon practice. We've been doing all of our alignment work. And these eclipse portal is the time of year we just get to practice release and surrender and trust. And the universe is like, hey, my beautiful child, sit back, go in the back seat. Let me get in the driver's seat. Do you trust me? Do you trust where we're going to go? And in that time, focusing on also what are your other spiritual practices that don't include active manifesting. Because I love spirituality. I love it. I love it. I love manifestation. I love my vision boards. I love my like crystals. I love my rituals. But sometimes we have to remember that like our work here of being spiritual beings in human bodies isn't just having this like active drive through or Instacart order from the universe, right? We're also here to just be in the place of being one with our soul, tending to ourselves, living in softness, living in service to others. And I think eclipse season is a great time to just be like, okay, I'm not going to actively manifest. I'm going to focus on my other spiritual practices while the universe does some magic, moves around some pieces on the old chessboard to get me where I want to go. And can I just sit back and can I trust? And can I follow the nudges? Because I find eclipses can open and shut doors really fast. And it's up to us just to be in that place of regulation, grounding, alignment where we can trust where we want to go. And I do like to say, if we can put down our active manifesting practices, that's beautiful during eclipse season. And I would say other things, just focusing on good self-care. When I first adopted my dog, he's a Taurus with a Pisces moon. And we had him during the Taurus Scorpio eclipses. And in 2019, he got so sick. He had to go to the emergency room. He had to be in the emergency room for like multiple nights. It was so weird. They never figured out what was going on with him. It was like a lung thing. He was fine after. But it was one of the first moments that I realized like eclipses are so intense on our physical bodies, but we're so human. We power through, right? Our minds are like, I gotta get stuff done. I gotta go. Oh, my head's hurting. Take an Advil. Keep going. Pop some caffeine. I don't care. I think eclipse season is a great time to do less. If we can, if we're able to, just don't stack the schedule. Pull back, especially these Pisces Virgo eclipses. It's like, can I focus on just taking a little bit of a TO, a little bit of a time out, focus on drinking lots of water, being in nature, maybe putting away, doing a little mini digital detox, because the energy is already so erratic. So I find that when we can trust the eclipse energy and remember that eclipses are wild, they are forces of nature, but so are we. And we really can be in that. When I started to understand that is when I started having fun and, dare I say, like loving eclipse seasons.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let's go. Time to quantum leap. Like, let's go. Let's figure out where the universe wants to take us.
Yeah, it's like season 2025 is on. What's going to happen?
Literally.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And I think like what you're saying makes perfect sense. And it's not like stuff doesn't happen in eclipse seasons. It does. It's that we are not in the driver's seat as much. We're responding to universal currents of energy that are like shaking up the etch a sketch of our life. And then we don't try to force or hold on to one specific thing. We're open to how the puzzle pieces need to disperse so a new picture can be made. I was just talking about this with a different guest, Lorraine Anderson. I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she has like the Seasons of the Witch Oracle, and she was just our summer magic guest. And she was saying, like, all the best things in my life came when I wasn't trying to create them. They like came to me. And I feel like that's eclipse season vibe because there's a karmic energy to eclipse, which means it's soul growth. It's things we're not seeing in this lifetime that are accumulations from past lifetimes. So there is a certain level of our limited consciousness and perspective in this life, not understanding everything we need for our higher soul growth and us just flowing, not forcing with that.
Yes, I love the flowing, not forcing. And I love just like the prayer of just universe, show me what I'm not seeing, show me how good I can get, and delight me, surprise me. And I allow you to do that because I know as a Virgo, I don't know, I'm an eldest daughter, I'm a New Yorker. I have a lot of personality signatures as someone who just likes to get things done the way I like to get them done. And truly, like my lack of imagination for my own life, thank God I wasn't the one in control. Thank the goddess, because there's so many times where I'm like, oh my God, that worked out way better, way more magically, way more miraculously, and actually easier than I was going to do it. So thank you. Like I was shooting for a 10 and you just took me out to a 1000. So I love it. But it was the times where I had to release control, surrender. But it's not this like super passive thing, right? It's not just like, okay, universe, like, all right, I'm going to read my book over here and you just figure it out. It's okay, I'm going to show up. I have the vision, right? I have the intentions in my heart. I know my values. And my job is just to stay in alignment with that and trust everything else. I always say it's like water skiing with the universe. I'm like, you get locked in on the core, like what those things are, but then you got to lean back. You got to lean back and let the universe take you from there.
Yes, exactly. That's why I like to say flow more than surrender, because I think surrender during eclipse season can have the connotation of like just letting go, doing nothing, being in the sauna. And it's like, no, no, no. It's not a new moon or the dark of the moon where we're chilling. It's very active and heightened. It's just we're flowing with the energy. And I just got this like image popped into my head of us as souls here in bodies, like doing children's drawings of what we want our life to look like, and our guides like ripping those drawings because something's like a beautiful oil painting of what our life wants to look like is right there. But like the ripping of like our child's drawing is so painful and scary sometimes to like let go the image in our head that we're attached to, but it's because there's a way bigger, more intricate, beautiful picture that's on the other side of that releasing and ripping of that other paper.
The releasing and ripping, Taylor, I love that so much. And I think our guys, our intuition, I think speaks to us both very much through imagery, right? Because as you were talking about flow, I was picturing us kind of like whitewater rafting. We're like, okay, this isn't exactly like the lazy river, but we're like, we're moving around the rocks and the hard things and we're trusting the currents taking us that way. And we're like, okay. And when you said the thing about the child's drawing, you just brought me back to a few years ago. I had a lot of, we never just go through one big spiritual awakening or dark night or a big cosmic crossroads. You know, it's like we kind of keep doing it and we hope every time there's a little bit more, we have more resources and trust, and we remember how it worked out the last time we made the big leap. But I remember when I was walking away from some of my first businesses that were doing very well, but they weren't lighting me up. And I knew I came to the completion with them and it was ready to go on the journey I'm on now. But my ego was like, but I built this and I'm known for this and I invested this and my community knows me. And I had a lot of ego attachment to it. And I had a meditation and the vision was me walking down New York City, like a place outside Central Park that my aunt used to take me on the streets. And I was a little like a toddler, maybe a little bit older than a toddler, like 4 or 5. and it was like I had a lollipop and I dropped it on the sidewalk, the New York City sidewalk. And I was like, like, no, and trying to pick it up and it's like stuck and sticky and like gross. And my guides were like, psst, it just, if you, okay, when you're done having the temper tantrum, well, can we just let go of the lollipop? Because if you can let go of that and turn around, behind you is a whole like Dylan's candy store where you get to have your pick of anything you want. It's always, but you have to just let go. And now I actually have a toddler and I just laugh at all the times where he's just, I want this one thing. And I'm like, okay, if you can just let go of that, mommy is going to get you something so much better than that gross, hairy, sticky, bacteria infected, gross lollipop. So when you said that drawing, I was like, thank you for that imagery because it hurts to see that thing rid of. Like we do have attachment, and as we should to something, but it's okay. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to maybe grieve a little bit. I'm going to have a moment, and then I'm going to trust and just keep going with that and that flow. So that was really beautiful. You just took me back to that vision.
I love that. And that's such a perfect example of that concept, too. So let's get into this September 7th total full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. What are the major themes? What can people focus on with this energy? What is your take?
First and foremost, if people are able to and they can find Pisces in their chart, it might help them understand, a little bit about what the area of life where this flow, where this ripped up child's drawing for oil painting swap might be occurring, right? And I just like to remind everyone, as I'm sure people listening to your podcast know, but we have all 12 signs of the zodiac within us. We are not a fragmented, the universe didn't create us with missing parts. We are a whole expression of the zodiac, of the universe. We are, the universe expressing itself. So there's Pisces somewhere in your chart, even if it's not as active, even if there's not planets or major points or asteroids even there. So that Pisces part of your chart for all of us is going to connect us to the assignment under this full moon lunar eclipse. Is Pisces really rules the unseen. Pisces is the part of us that's connected to the dream world, the spirit world, the creative world, our inner child, our inner artist, our inner like poetic priestess, our mystical mermaid who wants to swim in the Neptunian depths and just like feel and heal and usually transmute to transcend into something new. So I will, I don't like to make a lot of hard and fast predictions. Everyone's chart, everyone's lives are so different. But I will say what I could sense that could be some universal themes to be aware of would be some sort of ending, because a lunar eclipse is a full moon on steroids. That is going to signify some kind of larger culmination of something. And Pisces is a sign, as the last sign in the zodiac, that usually brings us into end. It's like the trust fall part of the zodiac, or it's the like spiritual bath. It's the card we go into before we go into the renewal, into some sort of like baptism moment. And I think that you can look back on what was something that started last September. We had the first Pisces eclipse, then the North Node, which is one of the astrological indicators of why eclipses happen. The North Node shifted into Pisces on January 11th of this year. We all started this kind of karmic, cosmic like assignment, this like earth school assignment to live in a more Piscean path, which is like, can we trust a little bit more? Can we be in flow? Can we be more in touch with our heart center, with our emotions, with our art? And Pisces, I find that Pisces and Leo to me are the signs that are like the artists. There's so many, different artists in the zodiac, but in the traditional way, we think about creating art from the heart. And Leo creates art to express, to be witnessed, to say, I have a light in me. And when I see you witnessing my light, it reflects back to me, oh, okay, that's my soul, right? I matter. I have something important for me to share. And I hope that lights you up with that reflection of light and encourages you to do the same. Whereas Pisces creates to express, right? To channel something from the divine, from the universe, from source, from spirit, to bring something down to the earth plane that's like the universe, unfortunately, it's not like, or fortunately, it is not going to come down and say, Taylor, like, You're doing amazing. You're so beautiful. You're doing amazing. Like, you're on the right path. You're not alone. Everything has led you to this moment. Keep going, right? The universe needs us to be that channel. And I feel like Pisces is like the light that's channeling down, and we're the lamps. So during a Pisces eclipse, there might also be something that wants to express through us, whether it's like poetry, music, art, reaching out to someone, offering some extra love or empathy for a neighbor, community member, a group, animals, whatever it is. It's like there might be something in all of us that's like, can we not only trust the flow of the universe, but can we act on behalf of the universe in some way and trust that and where that's leading us? So that is going to be like happening all, and it's going to be a little emotional. A full moon is an emotional time. A full moon on steroids, a lunar eclipse is an emotional time. A full moon, lunar eclipse in Pisces.
And a total eclipse at that.
And a total eclipse at that. We're gonna feel it, right? It's in 15 degrees of Pisces. So if you can find out where that is in your chart, it's like there's gonna be a cleansing happening there too, of some sort. So whatever is coming up, if I can just give everyone permission to, again, don't fight the tide of it. You're in Southern California, right? So I'm in a beach town in New York right now for the summer. And every time I learn so much through nature, right? Through the imagery, the analogies, and just watching the ocean, right? All of astrology feels currents to me, but especially a Pisces eclipse. I'm like, can we work with that? The ocean, the tide, like swimming against it is just going to exhaust us. And we're going to feel like soggy and waterlogged and caught in the riptide. But I'm like, just trust what's coming up. And if it also might be something old, eclipses happen in something called like the sorrow cycle. So sometimes we're also closing out something from 18 years ago. So don't be surprised if something comes up and you're like, oh, I haven't thought of this since I graduated college or since I met this person, and just trust what's coming up. Because if we can feel something and either feel it, heal it, let it reveal something to us, transmute, transcend, it's going to set us up for a beautiful something. I imagine a new gift, a new awareness, a new clarity coming out of eclipse season. But the Pisces energy, nothing's linear. So if you're working on something right now and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go here, I want to do this. And you're like, I'm going to point B. The universe might be like, first we're going to go to Z. Then we're going to go to K. Then we're going to go to something that's not even a letter.
Then we're going to go to 5.
Then we're going to hit you with a 5.
Yeah. I love that. It's just such masterclass energy too. It's like higher self activation. I've been saying Neptune and Saturn moving back into Pisces and then back into Aries to me is an initiation and walking the higher self's talk. And I think that this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces is definitely an activation in that too, of like, you know what you need to do. It's giving you the soul assignment. It's giving a lot of clarity and intuitive downloads, and the dial is turned up because it's information turned up. All of our emotions are information. And so I think it's like getting the homework assignment and releasing the self-sabotage, the martyrdom, the defensiveness, the codependence, the lack of boundaries, like all of the shadow side of Pisces that's keeping us from our dreams.
Yes, I think that's a really good reminder too, is like full moons naturally bring up like a shadow energy, and eclipses do too. And so it is really good to look at that. And I think like the spectrum, the octaves of the shadow, the higher consciousness of a sign, it's like something we can experience within a day. Like as a Pisces moon, I can vibrate between those in like an afternoon. But during an eclipse, we're going to be brought to the extremes of it. And I think it's really important to see that, feel that, have that awareness, notice the emotions, but not be like, falling into victim mindset, or not going into martyrdom, or not going into the shadow energy Pisces, or detachment, disassociation. Like you said, it's as we move from Neptune and Pisces into Aries, it's like, can I really take ownership over this? Can I walk the walk? And I think for a lot of us during the Pisces eclipse, it's going to ask us to double down on some of our spiritual practices, our energy hygiene, our boundaries, but do it in a way where we're still really empowered and we're really present and we're really clear. Then again, like back to that water analogy on the ground, what are the things that help you feel like that structure, the boundaries, the organization? That's where we turn, water can go into a glass. That's just one boundary. It's a container. Now the water, we can drink the water. We could put the water into, hoses or pipes. It's like that structure and boundaries with ourselves or other people is what helps us make sense of those emotions, those downloads, all the things that are going to come up, I would say probably pretty strong during that time.
I really liked the image that popped into your head of the whitewater rapids, because I think it's so true that when we talk about flow, we think of a lazy river. But flow sometimes is just holding on while you're getting bounced around in your raft as well, because you are literally out of control. And that, with the intensity of this energy, might feel more like that, but it's still flow if you're just staying in the raft.
Absolutely. Like it's still flow. I love it's such a funny distinction, right? Because we're like, oh, flow, cool. Have a little fruity cocktail, the little umbrella straw. And you're like, oh, no, 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 no. There's water might be going up your nose, your life, but you're still like, you're getting somewhere. And again, water is always an analogy with me and anyone who's ever been surfing. It's not like necessarily the easiest thing, but there is that moment where you're like there, you're paddling, the wave comes under you, and you feel like same thing as whitewater rafting, that you're like working with nature. There's a harnessing happening. Whoa, like I'm getting somewhere in a way more cosmic and magical and charged way than if it was just me walking there or just trying to do it on the earth plane. But I think that everyone listening, like, to buckle up. And that's why we want to have the spiritual practices, the emotional regulation, the grounding, the energy hygiene, the boundaries help us feel a little bit more, again, like eclipse season is happening through us, not just to us.
Yeah. And I think, especially as a North Node eclipse, it's activating us in major ways towards our purpose and what we came here to learn, and really karmic themes. Then, on top of that, it's the sign of Pisces. So it's just, I've been calling all of this our masterclass era, because that's what it really feels like to me.
I love that. And that is just double down with the Virgo eclipse for many reasons. But yeah, like, absolutely.
Yeah. And before we move on to the Virgo new moon eclipse, I just want to say really briefly, astrologer Linda Goodman, the author of Love Signs and I think Sun Signs, I just love her, and I love Love Signs. It's such a good book. And she said something that really struck me in Love Signs about Pisces energy. And it's interesting because my mom was a Pisces sun and moon in the 12th house. My grandma's a Pisces, my great grandma's a Pisces, my aunt's a Pisces. It's like on my mom's side of the family, it's a bunch of Pisces women. And Pisces is one of those signs that I categorize as difficult to hold, especially before your Saturn return. And Linda Goodman said, having a lot of Pisces energy in your chart is like simultaneously walking through heaven and hell at the same time. And that was really interesting to me, because she's like, Pisces of all the signs is aware of the potential beauty, oneness, higher octave of love, spiritual connection, like selflessness. But then the reality of Earth rarely measures up to the heaven that Pisces can naturally sense. And so I feel like there's also this collective theme of like, we're living through such horrors collectively on a mass scale of when we see what's happening. And I think, like, for those of us, especially who are awake and in our spiritual practices, this notion of simultaneously walking heaven and hell at the same time is literally Earth for a spiritually awakened person. And so I think that there is something really interesting to be said. And I wonder how you relate to that as a Pisces moon.
Absolutely. And I love that. I've never heard that exact quote. And I do love Linda Goodman. Like, she's literally the OG original goddess of this. And I love that. And I think of the two fishes, and I've thought a lot of the two fish and Pisces, of like swimming in different directions. And I think that is a good way of putting it. And I always say it of like Pisces, it's like you just feel everything so deeply and so immensely. And I know as a child, like, just there's also an old soul energy of Pisces. It's not your first trip here to Earth if you've had a lot of Pisces in your chart. And with that, there's almost a little bit of a loss of innocence, because you're always aware. You're aware of the pain, the suffering. You're not here to learn about compassion. You're born with it in spades. But your job is to, like, how do I stay in a place where I can be an agent of some sort of good without being completely overcome and overwrought with the pain, the suffering of humanity that's happening on the earth. And I think right now with the North Node in Pisces, like I always look at astrology as also this assignment for us collectively, like where we all meant to put our energy into, where should our prayers be going, where should our actions be going. And North Node in Pisces for all of us, I'm like, this world needs like a lot more compassion, right? Like this world needs a lot more understanding of the unity consciousness that I think Pisces so represents, that like, if you're suffering, Taylor, so am I, right? If there's a genocide happening on the other side of the world, that hurts my heart. Looking at my children and someone else's child is the same feeling, right? Like having someone not having access to safe housing somewhere in the world, like that pains me. Someone's being oppressed. That should hurt all of us. We're not individualistic like species as maybe some systems would have us believe. And Pisces knows that, but almost too much. And it's like, oh, I feel that suffering on the other side of the world, and it's like gripping me. It's like, and it almost then that's where I think the detachment and the even abuse of substances can happen with Pisces, because it's like, this world is too heavy. Let me leave it. Like I need to leave it. And I have felt that way as a Pisces moon, whether it was just living in la la land and disassociating as an act of self-protection, or cutting off certain feelings of mine, or even getting lost in like, I never had a substance abuse addiction, but I would definitely be addicted to TV or shopping or just distractions to keep me out of feeling things so much, especially like before my Saturn return. And I find that when I started getting back into this world of spirituality, I felt in the Neptune and Pisces how like one of the first things that really galvanized me into action to wanting to do this work full time was, I said, we need more people who are embodying the Pisces energy, but are here. They're not floating off. They're not also even like moving to a remote place. Like I understand the Pisces urge to, like I said before, be a Pisces moon and go live in a jungle and just hang out with animals and like paint all day. But the world needs you and your Pisces energy showing up in the discomfort and being in different areas of the world and different industries and different moments, and bringing that spiritual energy, that healing energy, that love energy, but while also not getting consumed or overwhelmed by it all, which is so easy to do right now. And it's fine. I don't like have all the answers. I toggle all the time between this myself. But I think that that is part of also, like you said, the Neptune and Aries now that we're moving into of, okay, we've all spent 12 years like going deeper into the heart space. And now how do we go into that heart, like warrior space, and go do all the things we've been studying about and meditating on and learning about in our healing individually, and bring that out in some ways that are like, yeah, going to be a little uncomfortable, but really important. And so I think that for all of us, I do think that though part of the Pisces eclipse is going to ask a few of us to have some breakthrough moments of letting ourselves just feel, because it's so easy to numb, right? It's so easy to numb ourselves. And it's almost like, I understand why, because the world, it's like everything happening all at once right now, and we're being so exposed to it. But I think that a good Pisces cry feel fest, so you can be clear to what the next action step might come after that, because you know that Virgo eclipse is bringing some action steps, I think would be really important. But that heaven and hell is a really, really great depiction, and very well said, of how I imagine a lot of people with heavy Pisces placements feel.
Yeah. And going to that Virgo new moon eclipse, I always say that the first 6 signs are the recipe to healthy embodiment of the second 6. So if you don't have healthy Virgo, if you aren't in touch with your body, if you don't have a clear mind, if you're anxious and perfectionistic and not in your ability to organize and sort and find structure, then you won't have healthy Pisces. You will be detached. You'll be exactly like you said, some of these Piscean energies in the spiritual space that just want to go to the Pleiades, don't want to be here. And that's because they need healthy Virgo. So the fact that you're a Virgo sun, Pisces moon is just so perfect for that. So I'm wondering if you can give us the same sort of rundown for the themes of what people can expect for the Virgo new moon eclipse, which is happening on September 21st.
Wonderful. So September 21st, we're going to have this, it's a solar eclipse, a new moon eclipse. Is going to be like a new beginning, a fresh start. You're going to feel like again, you said that the puzzle pieces moving around, you might start to feel around the 21st a new opportunity of sorts, whether it's internally an aha, a new belief system, mindset shift forming, or because it's Virgo, it might feel very much something in the practical, like tangible realms. But I do want to stress that it's not going to be subtle, because this is also an eclipse that's happening in the anaretic in the 29th degree of Virgo. And so when there's that 29th degree, there's an urgency. There is an important, there's like a hello. Again, everything from in astrology to me, whether it's the numbers, the numerology, the signs, it's like messages, right, from our guides. Pay attention, do this thing. And we know it's a south node. So there's also going to be something simultaneously very Virgo being edited, cleared, let go of, detox, decluttered big time, so we can make room and space for the person that we're becoming. So there's going to be, I imagine, a very simultaneous release and fresh start happening like at once. And it's going to feel like probably something you've been tuning into for a while, like that you've been sensing. But this is the time with this 29th degree to really trust it. And I think of Virgo very much as the pragmatic priestess, the one who is like, okay, I am here to take something in the metaphysical, physical axis, Pisces. Okay, now what do I do with that? All of that big emotional download, that being swept up by something, maybe a divine moment that I had over Pisces eclipse. The Virgo new moon eclipse might show us something new that we have to do to show up in better service to others, to ourselves, whether that's self-care, whether that's new structures. I feel like Virgo is like the scaffolding to living our best life. Do we have good structures? Do we have good support? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we drinking water? Are we moving our body? Are we eating well? But also like scaffolding support. Do we know how to ask for help? Do we have the right people and mentors? And do we have a good acupuncturist, a good chiropractor? Like, how are we taking care of ourselves? And also, what does our day-to-day look like? Do our routines, our rituals serve us? Because our life is basically all of just our little day-to-day mundane things we do over and over again is who we are, who we become. So the Virgo eclipse might ask us to have some kind of wake up around that, around our health, our well-being, the quality of our life, something we know is like not serving us, releasing it. And Virgo is also the virgin, though nothing to do with our sexual chastity, but the one who is whole in of themselves. And like, there's something that's making you sacrifice your wholeness, where you're giving away too much of yourself, or you're not treating yourself like the best damn prize and your most valuable masterpiece you'll ever work on. This eclipse might bring some sort of awakening around that. It might come subtle or it might come screaming, but this Virgo eclipse wants you in your wholeness. This Virgo eclipse wants you to be that pragmatic priestess, to be that servant-based leader, to be of some kind of service to the world, but not at your own expense, right? Leading and giving from a place of overflow, not of a place of burnout. And I think that's also very important because, again, the state of the world that we're in right now, we need the heart-centered change makers, the leaders, the revolutionary lovers and artists. We need you here, but we need you here, not in the Pleiades. We need you here, and we need you here for the long haul. So what are the things that help you keep going, right? So you can be of service in that way. And it is going to be opposing Saturn will have moved back into Pisces. So it's going to be opposing Saturn. So it's again going to feel like we might be being called to reassess those boundaries, do something in the Virgo realm that helps us protect our Pisces realm of ourselves, and something that's, again, not a surprise. It might be something even way back from March 2023 when Saturn moved into Pisces, like a culmination around a journey that began then.
Yes. And I feel like this solar eclipse happening at the anaretic degree is also such an exclamation point for that theme of masterclass energy and karma and all of those things. And I also find this eclipse season to be really interesting and like an added layer of chaos that the new moon eclipse is happening as a south node eclipse and the full moon eclipse is happening as a north node eclipse. So there's this element there of like topsy-turvy, endings, beginnings, up and down, east and west, 1 through 10, like everything, every layer is being activated on like, and like you said, that's so much energy for our physical body to hold. And Virgo is a co-ruler co-ruled by Chiron. So there is so much like physical body healing and taking care of our body and self-care that's prominent. So I love everything you said. I think it's a really powerful rundown. And I think like the Pisces Virgo axis is so focused on healing mind, body, soul. Like it is the path of the healer is this polarity. So I'm really hopeful that this eclipse season will be really healing for us individually and collectively, mind, body, and soul.
I think it will. And I always just hold that vision. And Pisces and everything you're describing, like it's topsy turvy. I'm like, oh God, it's so meta of the Pisces. It's so meta, like the mutable energy of these eclipses, but especially the Pisces. Like Pisces is never taking us, nothing about ourselves, especially our healing journey, is linear. It's a spiral. It sometimes doesn't even feel as cohesive as a spiral. But I think for us as a collective, I want us to hold on to that too, especially if you're someone who's feeling a little bit of like, where's the hope? Where's this? But we are in a healing journey. Like we are, and there are beautiful things happening, but it's almost like something really intense and hard happens. But then there's like a wave of, and I do feel it like a shift towards remembering our collective shared humanity and our oneness. And I think in some ways we feel really divided. And that's something we'll continue to feel with Uranus and Gemini. But I think that there's also a lot of under that moments for really beautiful, like heart opening. And that's also why I think that, again, if I'm very passionate about working with, I call them the artists, but it doesn't have to be like a painting and a canvas, but just something you want to share from the heart. If the Pisces eclipse awakens or evokes something in you that you want to share, please do, because that is what we need to move forward right now with all this air energy, with all this change happening. We need people really operating and sharing things from the heart space.
And it's so synchronistic how collectively the South Node is in Virgo. We're moving away from being boundaried and linear and compartmentalizing. And like the prescription for our energy collectively at this time is what you were saying about Pisces, just that oneness, that higher spiritual consciousness. Like that is what the earth is literally asking to be shifted towards in this moment. And the more we can do it on the individual level, the more it helps the collective as well. And I feel like time flies so fast speaking with you because I have your book here in the Cosmic Zone and I started it and I'm loving it. And I think it's so creative. It's a creative act, a creative spiritual act from the heart, just like you're saying. For the people out there, you have these keys throughout the book. And I feel like, will your book be out by September 3rd? When does it come out?
Yes. So it just came out yesterday. The book's a Leo. So we had a big Leo party out here in Montauk, a big old fete. So she's out. And, basically everything we talked about today is what I want people to trust of like, I understand our comfort zone as a place that's so easy to stay, but it is where we stay small, where things can feel stagnant. We can feel disconnected from our life force. And our souls came here to do one thing, in my opinion, is to grow and to love and be more open in that heart energy and expand from there. And eclipses are probably one of the greatest examples of the moments where we're being asked to go from a comfort zone to a cosmic zone leap of some sort. And I wanted to write an astrology book that didn't define you, but instead wanted to help align you. So this is not the book that's like, your Venus is in this sign, this is what it means for you. And I love books like that. My bookshelf is stocked with them. I wanted to write a book instead that was just like a guide for your soul. Again, that we have all these 12 signs, and I believe that each sign is a key that unlocks something that blocks us from living in our full potentiality, in our fullest expression. And this is the time to be in our full expression and to focus on liberating ourselves so we can hold that space for the liberation and full expression of others. So if you're interested in the book, like how to work with it, a good start would be even eclipse season. Like you could read the key for the Pisces and the Virgo. And even if you don't understand where that is in your chart, what that means, we talk about the light of it, the shadow. I talk about, when to use it, when to shelve it. That's my nice way of being like, we're doing shadow work here, but it's also like, it's cool. We all have it. We all do it. And I there's journal prompts in there, case studies from myself, my clients, and there's 3 tools, a mindset, an embodiment, and a spiritual tool for each of these keys, each of these zodiac signs. This is stuff that I've worked on with myself and clients for basically 10 years. So my Virgo in me feels like, okay, that I could sign off on this. I'm like, I have seen some big ass changes come from these just downloads, this information, these insights. And I feel like working with the Virgo and Pisces chapter as we're talking, the whole Pisces chapter is I trust. And the whole Virgo chapter, the Virgo key is practice makes magic. Like, we just keep showing up. That's how we make magic. But also our practices are what help us make magic in the magic hour. It's like, it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just appear. And those might be just good keys to help you understand like how to move through the eclipses with more embodiment and more alignment.
That's what I was exactly going to say. I was going to say, get her book and read the 6th and 12th keys for this eclipse season. So you beat me to it.
Okay, I love it. So I'm such a yapper, but Taylor, we have such the same brain. I love it. I can't wait to talk about, I know you're going to come on my podcast and we're going to talk about your chart. I love your chart. I love the way your mind works, your intuition, and you have such a beautiful articulation. I have my Chiron in Gemini, conjunct my North Node in the 12th house. So my whole life's journey is like, how do I articulate all this stuff that I feel and kind of know, but don't know how to put into words? So it's always a treat for me to sit with someone like you. And I'm like, yes, like, I love the way you phrase that. I love the way you put that so eloquently and so sexily. Like, that was great.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. And that's so karmic of you that you're writing books and sharing your voice on a podcast. And that's part of your North Node and healing your own stuff and then being a healer for others. So once again, astrology is just too literal sometimes.
So literal.
I love that. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your energy, your wisdom. I absolutely love your vibe too. I could gab with you all day. And luckily, I'm going on your podcast next. So if you want to continue the chat, catch me over there, Hummingbirds. We'll let you know when that episode drops too. And thank you again for being here, Maddie.
Thank you so much for having me, Taylor.
Welcome back to Sitting with Spirit, the part of the podcast where I sit with our angels, our guides, our loved ones in the spirit world and give the messages for the collective. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest. And these messages, whenever you're finding them, are perfect. It's okay if you're not listening to this the week of. The intelligence of the spirit world is vast. Everything comes across our consciousness as we're ready. So I first wanted to share a download that I had outside of this container, which I like to do with Sitting with Spirit. I feel like ever since I started Magic Hour, I mean, the tap was already on just from doing personal client sessions and posting to Instagram, but it's a whole new level with a podcast. I used to be like, how will I think of things to talk about every single week? And now by this point, I'm probably close to 70 episodes in, and I'm like, wow, somehow I can talk for hundreds of hours and it works out. And I love that. So something that came through to me, I joined this new gym and I'm like getting back on my fitness game. And especially as a fire sign moon, it's so important for my mental health to be active. And I really hadn't been active in a long, long time. And so I just feel very clear, very grateful. And in my gym, there's this red light therapy room. And I was sitting in it and I kind of used that time after my workout to just sit in silence in the red light. And I found myself opening a dialogue with my angels and guides per usual. And it was really interesting because our angels and guides mirror so much of our own consciousness back to us. And I was talking to them, and my prayer was just really in alignment with like gratitude and trust and flow and focused on what was in my control here and now. And it made me realize how far I'd come, because when I used to pray to my angels and guides, I would pray for really specific things. I'd be like, I want this person to respond to me this way. I want this outcome to come in this timing in this way. I want this person to realize this thing. Like, I would really, in my prayers, come from the energy of what I now understand was control. And the message that I got when I was in this red light therapy room is that control and miracles cannot exist simultaneously. Control and miracles are completely opposite frequencies. And truly, in a place of divine connection and prayer, what we really want on a heart soul level is magic and miracles and flow. But instead, our protectors of control, attachment to outcomes, overthinking infiltrate our sacred space with our angels and our guides. And even our prayers are asking for things from a place of control, and that blocks our miracles. And it was such an interesting reflection to me along the healing journey. And there's always deeper layers to heal. And it's always a beautiful surprise when they express themselves in a new way. And to me, this new way was realizing how much more in flow with magic, miracles, and trust I am, even in my quiet dialogue with my angels and guides. So I invite you to just be the observer of yourself when you're in those dialogues with your angels and guides. Are you coming from a place of control? Are you trying to attach to outcomes? Are you asking for specific things that maybe take the free will away from other people, or maybe have nothing to do with what is in your power, instead of being the most healed, empowered, magical version of self and trusting what will come to you from that place and moving forward with what is in your power here and there, and praying and asking for your angels to support that highest timeline instead of exactly what it needs to look like from a place of control. So that whole message of control and miracles not existing simultaneously just feels so powerful to me. And it's just a permission slip to trust fall a little deeper into the relationship with your angels and guides, even in the way that you talk to them, so that you can be in the right energetic state for miracles. So going into the angel messages for the week, as I was starting to tune in, I felt a lot of collective intensity. And keep in mind, I record these weeks in advance, especially this one is really far in advance. So I don't know what's to come, and I don't try to predict the future. But there is this feeling of like grief, fear, collective intensity, almost this feeling of paralysis, like where we see all the problems, but we don't know how to move forward. And I felt this like collective crown chakra block. So I feel like this is a collective theme, but of course, as above, so below, as within, so without. Like we will feel on the micro what the macro is going through because we're part of the macro. And lately, I've been feeling a lot of right side crown chakra blocks. This felt like a left side. And the left side is where new ideas and inspiration and thoughts come in. And that felt completely blocked. And I felt this sense of not being able to look forward, the path forward looking really fuzzy, or uncertainty, or maybe only understanding bits and pieces and layers of how to move forward, and that having to be enough. So, whatever is coming up right now, there's something about faith and getting out of your head and into your physical body and working on grounding and just staying in the light as much as possible while examining whatever intensity is coming up for you. And keep in mind, and I know this goes without saying, but if this isn't resonating with you, that's okay. Not every message is for every person, but the messages that are coming through to be shared are coming through for a reason, for who needs them most. And so that felt really intense as I tapped into it. It really stopped me in my tracks. So I don't know what we'll be navigating collectively when this episode comes out, but if you can't see ahead and you don't know where you're going and you can't go backwards and you're feeling a little stuck or paralyzed, just sit with feelings coming up and know that this energy will not last forever. Then I saw this symbol of an anchor, and it felt really important to not let ourselves get blown about if we're navigating collective heavy energy or intensity. There's something here about like rooting into ourselves, grounding ourselves, tending to our needs, working on regulating our nervous system, really tending to our inner child, doing everything we can to not be activated and in fear, but to root into and ground into and anchor into our power as much as possible. Then I saw this really interesting symbol of a doctor's chair. And it gave me this feeling that there's also a need for checking in with our health right now. And I saw like dentists, therapists, doctor's office, like all different types of health, mind, body, soul. And there's something about like getting to the appointments that you've been putting off, scheduling the things that have been like aching that you know you need to get checked out. There's something about like just doing it, surrendering to it, getting it in the books, looking for the right doctor, getting yourself the help that you need and support that you need on your own healing journey feels important to say right now. And then I saw our angels and guides like sending us these cute little small birds, and they were like chirping around and they were making me laugh. And it just felt like it so beautifully cut through the energy of the intensity that I was feeling before. And it was almost this like reminder. It's almost like these small birds were coming as animal guides this week. And there was just this sense of like, little moments of love and joy and simplicity. And these birds made me want to smile because there's just this sense of like staying in their play, staying in their energy, staying in their vibration, like finding the little in between moments that bring joy, getting into nature. I just feel like there's something about these little cute birds hopping around that made me really happy. So pay attention to if any birds are like acting strange or hanging out with you for a while. I feel like our angels might be sending us little birds as little reminders of joy, presence, magic. And the feeling that I get too is like sometimes after an intense time, and I know that this might even be like a trope in the literary world, but it's kind of like after a intense or difficult time or a time where you feel a little lost, the sun rises the next day and the birds start chirping. And that's almost the vibration of what I'm getting is like the birds as a symbol that life goes on, that cycles continue, that nature is still in its rhythm in some way. And so then I got this feeling that we're really in our masterclass era. And I know that I've said this before, but I feel like we're in this time period where so much of the things that we've been learning, so many of the things that we've been learning, and so many of the tools that we've been adding to our toolbox are coming into practice now. And that's why I'm calling it the masterclass era. It's like we've done so much work on ourselves. We've really excavated deeper patterns. We've showed up for different tests and lessons. And now, as this sort of Neptune and Saturn dancing in between Aries and Pisces is creating, it's like creating this masterclass era where we're finding completion, mastery, forgiveness, compassion, and release. And we're really walking the higher self's talk in an even new way that feels extremely powerful and needed. And so the last message that I want to give is this feeling of rejecting what isn't working for you anymore, feeling safe to say no, feeling safe to set a boundary, feeling safe to rest when you need to rest. I think a lot of people are feeling really burnt out and overwhelmed and afraid, and I'm sure for good reason with everything going on. And there's just a feeling of like rejecting the darkness, saying no, creating clear boundaries, and also speaking out for what is a full body no for you too. Like not having to accept what is asking to be accepted that crosses your boundary. And so for the mediumship today, it was really interesting because it wasn't a past loved one that came through, it was a spirit guide. And this spirit guide has been human before. And I feel like they've lived many different lifetimes. And so they didn't want to be limited by one story of who they've been. They're more of just a guiding collective spirit guide that helps different people, but is really interested in helping humanity at large. And I saw the letter A around them and I saw purple light and I got the feeling of just like, call me A. And as I started to connect with them, my ears started ringing, and I felt like this guide might communicate a lot through clairaudience and psychic hearing, paying attention to like if your ears are ringing or sentences that you hear or a laugh or whatever, a song lyric, whatever's coming through clairaudiently, to pay attention to that. There's a message here from this spirit guide of like this being a time that feels like an important crossroads moment for the collective and the individual, and this sense of like, make sure to create a conscious practice to connect with your spirit guides. Every single person has a team of angels, ancestors, and guides that is helping them. And there's this feeling of really carving out intentional time to connect. And I saw third eye upgrades and got the feeling that like collectively people's intuition is coming online more and more, and that it's more and more important than ever before to be connected to our own intuition, to feel our way forward rather than try to think and control our way forward. And so our guides are really stepping in and being like, we are here, get in touch with us. We are sending you signs. And then I saw these really interesting kind of polarities coming up with this guide. I saw these shark fins in the water circling around that felt very threatening and menacing. And then they turned into dolphin fins that felt more playful and alive and exciting and supported. And then I saw these beautiful big angel wings that felt like they were enveloping us and they were magnificent and they were protective. And then they turned into these kind of heavy gargoyle wings that felt a little bit more static and heavy and dense. And it felt like these sort of images were flickering in and out of these different polarities. And it gave me this feeling of like the energy on Earth being in a tug of war a little bit. And duality is the nature of this plane. We will never be perfectly all healed, and we will never be all in our shadow. There's always going to be a push pull between both. But there's this message from this spirit guide of like the people listening to this and the people who are awake actively choosing to be in love and to shift the energy towards the side of the angel wings, like the rainbow, the dolphins. It's not to say that those other things are bad or need to be avoided or demonized, but it's almost this sense of like being a force for the light, for love, for good, and consciously doing that. And in the process, of course, that's going to bring up deeper shadows and healing within ourselves so that we can authentically really be that force for healing and love and magic. But it feels really important to continue to develop our intuition, to nurture our relationship with our guides, and to actively be a force for good in the world. And that doesn't just mean what we want an outcome to be. That means being of service, helping people. I think sometimes we can think, oh, I have to be this like spiritual guru that shows up one way to be an earth angel, but that's not the case. Like we are an earth angel when we say yes to love, when we speak out against injustice, when we hold space for each other, when we don't allow for bullying or unkindness or violence in our immediate communities and the world, but especially in our communities, and starting there. And if everyone has that awareness, it will trickle out into the whole world. And I think social media disconnects us so much from that. But like getting into our communities, being of service, it doesn't have to be complicated. Like it can be even volunteering for a charity. It can be, doing those acts of service in the material world while simultaneously getting curious about how we can be agents of love for our guides, for our angels, because it's so, so needed right now. And I feel so much love from this guide coming through. And I feel like there's different creative frequencies of everybody that they work with, and that it's like so beautiful when their toolbox of instruments, aka us listening to them and in our flow, are online, because our guides and our angels can only affect change in the physical world as much as we in the physical world listen to them. And so more people need to listen to them and to tune in and to not think that it's some non-evidence-based airy fairy thing, because it's so real. It's so natural and it's so needed. And our world is so sick when we're disconnected from it. So the more that we connect, the more agency that our angels have on earth. And there's a lot of gratitude from this guide for us continually developing our intuition to connect with them in deeper ways. So that is the ending message today. I hope that this sitting with spirit was helpful. I'm sending you all so much love, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Magic Hour podcast. We are so happy you're here. I absolutely love to connect with you all on Instagram at angels_and_amethyst. I love to get your thoughts on each episode, and I get so excited to get your emails to contact@magichourpod.com. Make sure you're subscribing to Magic Hour so you never miss a new episode in your inbox. We have so many amazing guests right around the corner as always. Please make sure to send your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to contact@magichourpod.com, and we'll enter you into an angel reading giveaway with me, which is just my favorite thing, to get to connect with the Hummingbird community in that way. You get a bonus entry if you also send a screenshot of your YouTube subscription and also a screenshot of sharing us on your story and tagging us at Magic Hour Podcast on Instagram. The next giveaway will happen when we hit 288 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We so appreciate you sharing the podcast with other magical people, and it really helps us keep this project alive. To learn more about me, my work, to book a reading with me, take a workshop, please visit angelsandamethyst.com. And remember, you are magic.